fascinating parts of World War II that doesn't get talked about enough. We all know about the battles, the soldiers, the tanks, and planes. But there was another war happening at the same time, one that was fought in the shadows by spies, codebreakers, and secret agents. This hidden war probably saved millions of lives and might have actually decided who won the whole thing. So buckle up, because we're about to explore the world of espionage during World War II, and trust me, this stuff is way more intense than any spy movie you've ever seen. Before we jump into the cool spy stories, let's talk about why espionage was so incredibly important during World War II. This wasn't like previous wars where armies just lined up and fought. World War II was the first truly global industrial war where information became as powerful as any weapon. Think about it. If you knew where your enemy was going to attack, you could move your forces there first. If you could read their secret messages, you'd know their plans before they even made their move. If you could convince them you were attacking one place when you were really hitting another, you could save thousands of lives. That's exactly what happened over and over again during the war. Both sides knew this, so they poured massive resources into intelligence operations. The British, Americans, Germans, Soviets, and Japanese all had extensive spy networks. They weren't just gathering information either. They were spreading false information, sabotaging enemy operations, and conducting assassinations. It was a whole secret war happening alongside the one everyone could see. Let's start with probably the most famous story from the intelligence war, the Codebreakers at Bletchley Park in England. This place was like the secret headquarters for British intelligence, and what happened there is genuinely mind-blowing. The Germans had this encryption machine called Enigma that they used for basically all their military communications. They were super confident that nobody could crack it because the number of possible settings was astronomical. We're talking millions and millions of possible combinations. The Germans thought their messages were completely safe, but they were wrong. At Bletchley Park, a team of brilliant mathematicians, linguists, and puzzle solvers worked around the clock to break the Enigma code. The most famous person working there was Alan Turing, who's basically the father of modern computing. Turing designed a machine called the bomb that could test thousands of possible Enigma settings in a short amount of time. Here's what made this so challenging, though. The Germans changed their Enigma settings every single day at midnight. So even when the codebreakers cracked that day's code, they had to start all over again the next day. It was an endless cycle of solving impossibly difficult puzzles under massive pressure, because people's lives depended on it. The intelligence they got from breaking Enigma was given the code name Ultra, and it was insanely valuable. The British could read German naval messages, which helped them protect their supply convoys crossing the Atlantic. They could read Luftwaffe communications during the Battle of Britain. They even read messages from German commanders in North Africa and later in France. Some historians believe that breaking Enigma shortened the war by 2 to 4 years and saved millions of lives. Winston Churchill called the Bletchley Park team the geese that laid the golden eggs and never cackled. They did all this incredible work, and most of them couldn't tell anyone about it for decades because it was so top secret. And here's something really cool. Many of the codebreakers at Bletchley Park were women. About 8,000 women worked there during the war, doing everything from operating the bomb machines to analyzing decrypted messages. People like Joan Clark, who worked directly with Alan Turing and was one of the few female cryptanalysts, played crucial roles, but got almost no recognition for years. Now let's talk about one of the greatest deception operations in military history, Operation Fortitude. This was all about tricking the Germans before D-Day, the invasion of Normandy. The Allies knew that invading France was going to be incredibly risky. If the Germans figured out where and when they were coming, they could mass their forces there, and it would be a bloodbath. So the Allies needed to make the Germans think the invasion was going to happen somewhere else. They created an entirely fake army group called the First United States Army Group, or FUSAG for short. This fake army was supposedly stationed in southeastern England, preparing to invade at Pas-de-Calais, which is the closest point between England and France. To sell this lie, they built fake tanks, fake planes, fake landing craft, everything. From the air, German reconnaissance planes would see what looked like a massive military buildup. But it gets better. They also used double agents to feed false information to the Germans. The British had actually captured or turned almost every single German spy in Britain through a program called the Double Cross System. These double agents sent carefully crafted messages to their German handlers, all designed to reinforce the idea that the invasion was coming at Pas-de-Calais. One of the key players in this deception was a Spanish double agent with the codename Garbo. The Germans trusted him completely and even awarded him the Iron Cross, but he was actually working for the British the whole time, and his false reports were crucial in convincing the Germans that Pas-de-Calais was the target. The deception worked incredibly well. Even after D-Day happened at Normandy on June 6, 1944, the Germans still thought it might be a diversion and held back forces from Normandy because they were expecting the real invasion at Pas-de-Calais. This gave the Allies crucial time to establish their beachhead. Operation Fortitude might have saved thousands of Allied lives on D-Day. While Codebreakers worked from safety in England, other people were doing something even more dangerous. They were actually going into Nazi-occupied territory as secret agents. The British created an organization called the Special Operations Executive, or SOE, specifically to set Europe ablaze, as Churchill put it. Their job was to support resistance movements, conduct sabotage, and generally make life difficult for the Nazis behind enemy lines. SOE agents were trained in everything from parachuting to explosives to silent killing. They learned how to blend in, how to create fake identities, and how to operate radios under pressure. Then they were dropped into occupied France, Norway, Poland, and other countries where they'd work with local resistance fighters. One famous SOE agent was Virginia Hall, an American woman who worked in occupied France. She was already remarkable because she had a prosthetic leg, which she called Cuthbert. But that didn't stop her from becoming one of the most effective Allied agents. The Gestapo considered her extremely dangerous and desperately wanted to capture her. She organized resistance networks, coordinated supply drops, and helped downed Allied airmen escape. When things got too hot in France, she hiked over the Pyrenees Mountains into Spain, prosthetic leg and all. Another incredible story is Nancy Wake, a New Zealand-born agent who worked with the French resistance. She was so good at evading capture that the Gestapo called her the White Mouse and put a huge price on her head. Wake led resistance fighters in guerrilla warfare, personally killed a German sentry with her bare hands to protect her team, and survived multiple close calls. After one mission where her radio codes were destroyed, she rode a bicycle over 300 miles through German checkpoints to get new ones. The work these agents did was incredibly dangerous. Many were captured, tortured, and executed. But they also achieved real results. They sabotaged factories, derailed trains carrying troops and supplies, cut communication lines, and provided intelligence that couldn't be gathered any other way. They showed occupied populations that they weren't alone and that resistance was possible. Now here's where things get really complicated. While the Allies were spying on the Germans, the Soviets were spying on the Allies, specifically on the Manhattan Project, the secret program to build the atomic bomb. The Manhattan Project was supposed to be one of the most closely guarded secrets in history. Thousands of people worked on it, but they were compartmentalized so that most of them didn't know what they were actually building. The whole operation cost about $2 billion at the time, which would be something like $30 billion today. But Soviet intelligence managed to infiltrate the project at multiple levels. They had scientists, technicians, and administrators passing them information. The most famous was Klaus Fuchs, a German-born physicist who worked on the project. Fuchs was actually a committed communist who believed the Soviets should have the bomb too to maintain a balance of power. Another key Soviet spy was Theodore Hall, who was only 19 years old when he started passing atomic secrets to the Soviets. He was never prosecuted, and his involvement wasn't confirmed until after his death. There were others too, like David Greenglass and his handler, Julius Rosenberg, though the Rosenberg's case remains controversial. The information these spies provided accelerated the Soviet atomic program by years. When the Soviets tested their first atomic bomb in 1949, it was much sooner than American intelligence had predicted. This helped start the Cold War nuclear arms race. What makes this story so interesting is the moral complexity. Some of these spies genuinely believed they were preventing American atomic monopoly and making the world safer. Others were motivated by ideology or even coercion. Their actions had enormous consequences that shaped global politics for decades. We should also talk about German intelligence because they weren't sitting around doing nothing. The main German military intelligence organization was called the Abwehr, led for most of the war by Admiral Wilhelm Canaris. Here's where it gets weird, though. Canaris and many people in the Abwehr actually became disillusioned with Hitler and the Nazi regime. There's evidence that Canaris may have been working against the Nazis from the inside, passing information to the Allies and protecting people from the Gestapo. The Abwehr had some successes early in the war, but overall, German intelligence was surprisingly ineffective compared to the Allies. One reason was that German military intelligence and the SS security services didn't cooperate and often worked against each other. Another reason was that the British double-cross system meant the Germans were getting lots of false information from their own spies without realizing it. By 1944, Hitler was so suspicious of the Abwehr that he dissolved it and folded its functions into the SS. Canaris was eventually arrested for his involvement in plots against Hitler and was executed just weeks before the end of the war. Intelligence work was just as crucial in the Pacific Theater. The United States had broken Japanese naval codes before the war even started through a program called MAGIC. This intelligence was absolutely vital during the Battle of Midway in 1942. American codebreakers discovered that the Japanese were planning a major operation against a target they called AF. The Americans suspected AF was Midway Island, but they needed to be sure. So they had Midway send a fake message in a code the Japanese could read, saying that Midway's water purification system was broken. Shortly after, American codebreakers intercepted a Japanese message saying that AF was short on water. Boom, they confirmed the target. This intelligence allowed the Americans to set up an ambush at Midway. The battle was a turning point in the Pacific War. The Japanese lost 4 aircraft carriers and never recovered their strategic initiative. The Japanese also had their own intelligence operations, though they were generally less effective than the Allied efforts. They did have some notable successes, particularly their embassy in Berlin that provided information about European matters. But they struggled with language barriers and understanding American culture, which limited their espionage effectiveness in the United States. Before we wrap up, we need to talk about the human cost of this secret war. Being a spy or secret agent in World War II was incredibly dangerous. If you were caught in civilian clothes behind enemy lines, you weren't treated as a prisoner of war. You were considered a spy or saboteur, which usually meant torture and execution. Many SOE agents were captured and sent to concentration camps where they were executed. The women agents captured by the Germans faced particularly brutal treatment. Out of the 39 female SOE agents sent to France, 13 didn't come back. Double agents lived under constant stress, knowing that if either side discovered their true allegiance, they'd be killed. They had to remember complex cover stories and never slip up, sometimes for years at a time. Even the codebreakers at Bletchley Park, who worked in relative safety, dealt with enormous psychological pressure. They knew that failing to break a message could mean ships getting sunk and thousands of people dying. They worked incredibly long hours in difficult conditions, and they couldn't tell anyone, even their families, what they were doing. The intelligence war of World War II changed everything. It led to the creation of permanent intelligence agencies like the CIA and helped start what became the Cold War. The techniques developed during the war, from code breaking to covert operations, formed the basis for modern espionage. The work at Bletchley Park laid the groundwork for modern computing. Alan Turing's ideas about machine intelligence directly influenced the development of computers as we know them today. The scientists and engineers who worked on breaking codes and developing new technology went on to careers that shaped the post-war world. Many of the people involved in this secret war couldn't talk about what they did for decades. The ultra-secret about breaking Enigma wasn't revealed until 1974, nearly 30 years after the war ended. Imagine doing something that helped win the war and saved millions of lives, but not being able to tell anyone about it for most of your life. Today, we can look back and appreciate just how crucial this hidden war was. The spies, codebreakers, and secret agents weren't just supporting the military effort. In many ways, they were determining its outcome. The information they gathered, the codes they broke, and the deceptions they created changed the course of battles, and maybe even changed who won the war. So there you have it, the hidden war of World War II. From the brilliant minds at Bletchley Park to the incredibly brave agents parachuting into occupied territory. From the elaborate deceptions of Operation Fortitude to the moral complexities of atomic espionage, this secret war was just as important as any battle fought with tanks and planes. These weren't just stories from the past either. The intelligence work done during World War II set the template for how nations gather information and conduct secret operations today. Every time you hear about cybersecurity, encryption, or intelligence agencies, you're seeing the legacy of what these people did over 75 years ago. If you found this interesting, definitely let me know in the comments what aspect of World War II espionage you'd like me to explore more deeply. Should we do a deep dive on Alan Turing and Bletchley Park? Or maybe look more at the female spies of the SOE? Let me know what you think. And if you want to learn more about this topic, I'd recommend checking out some great books and sources. The Secret War by Max Hastings gives an excellent overview of intelligence operations across all theaters. Code Girls by Liza Mundy tells the story of American women codebreakers. Agent Zigzag by Ben McIntyre is a fascinating account of one particular double agent. The Bletchley Park Trust also has tons of information on their website about the code-breaking effort. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoyed this. Peace out.